Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. 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 Yeah. 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 Memories. Memories. Yeah. Memories. Memories.
Feel my heart, it's beating. Oh, my body's breathing. It's just you and me. Feel my heart, it's beating. Oh, my body's breathing. It's just you and me. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. I'm so caught in this, we're so lost deep in it, can't stop. I'm forever the one you call. Let's free fall. Let's free fall. Let's free fall.
Good afternoon, evening, ladies and gentlemen, gals, pals, non-binary pals, whatever you want to be. We are here for a lovely, lovely day of the Console Gaming League for Overwatch here. My first time ever covering this event. I'm super pumped, but I wouldn't be able to cover it myself. I have Boom, of course, right next to me, and Boom, we have a pretty good match here in this playoff run going.
Yeah, we're here in the EU PC Open tier, so should be some of the higher quality gameplay compared to some of the other tiers. Now, of course, we are in our first round of playoffs here. If we want to take a look at the bracket real quick. So we've got ATX versus Winton Gang. Now, with how the format of this works, right? The tire seed through the regular season was able to pick their opponent for the first round. So I had a chance actually to talk to the teams on the opponent picking stream with Hunter. And the story basically goes that ATX wanted to create some console drama because, it's console gaming league. This is the PC open tier, but of course console teams are allowed to play. So they wanted the remaining two teams to kind of end up against each other somehow, AFMT and Oblivion T6. So they picked Winton Gang as their opponent. They also wanted they like the Winton Gang name, which, I mean, how could you not, right, Mega?
No, definitely. It's a fun, casual little name. And it always brings that extra aspect into a playoff bracket when you're able to pick your opponent, right? It almost allows people to craft their own storylines or maybe just give themselves what they could see as an easier matchup. There's definitely a lot of different options that you can kind of go in terms of picking. But all in all, I feel like there's always going to be talent, so there's never really a safe pick when it comes to these playoff runs, because one spark means someone's going to get it running.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of talent, if we want to take a look at the rosters for these teams, starting with ATX, we've got Alex and Chaco on the DPS, Majin rounding out the tank, and of course the backline, the supports, Nino and Izuya.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially nowadays, you're going to always be looking towards those supports as the main figureheads of a team to do the most work. But on the side of Winton Gang, they definitely have a lineup of their own that they can boast about. It's going to be Protein Shake and Sullivan on the DPS. Protein Shake, a name I do recognize as a powerhouse. Then we have Jiffle on the tank heading up that role. And then we'll have, it looks like, Whaley and Mac Daddy taking the support. And yeah, these guys are going to have an interesting game here. And it looks like we should be ready to start this game soon. Looking at our first map, what do you make of it, Bill?
I mean, these are two teams that, when I got the chance to talk to them, exuded confidence, right? Winton Gangs, said that they had a rough start to their season, but were able to pick it up and have been on a win streak since, and said they think that they can go all the way to at least second place, how they ended the last season of CGL. Now, ATX as well, no slouches themselves. I mean, they were the higher seed, of course. So coming into Lijiang, I'm expecting these teams to probably play some very typical compositions. We see a lot of brawl, especially on Night Market and Control Center. The Bastion, ever so strong, despite the nerfs. So starting off with Gardens, we'll see what these teams want to pull out here.
Yeah, Lijiang, it's a map where nobody really feels the need to reinvent the wheel, right? This is a map that's kind of been solved in terms of what you're going to play. You're not going to see too many variations. But as I say that, though, I mean, obviously still in Spawn, Winton Gang hovering over a bit of Brig Kiriko. That could definitely be an interesting heal lineup, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they might opt over for the traditional Winton dive, as you would expect from their name. ATX, meanwhile, mirroring on the Diva dive, although with a Farmer, so yeah, it's going to really be on up to Sullivan to tap the flying Pharaoh out of the sky. Otherwise, the boosted rockets are just going to rain so much havoc down onto Winton Gang. I'm not sure if we have a slight issue with the servers here, as we see the two teams kind of just posturing at each other here. Winton Gang, bunkering in the dojo, respecting the Pharah spam from above from Alex. ATX, meanwhile, with the Pharah, with the Tracer, able to have a lot more map control, right? Potentially looking to get a first capture here. Unfortunately, I think we will have to restart our game due to the server issue being resolved, but once we are headed back in the right region, this should be a good match.
Oh, definitely. I mean, let's be real. Is it really a production of an Overwatch match if something doesn't go wrong immediately? But yeah, so It's going to be a quick little restart to make sure we are on the European side of things, and a quick little reset to make sure we go back to the night market. But yeah, as you were highlighting with the pharmacy, it's going to be able to kind of just exude pressure and force. Something to note that as well with that pharmacy, right? They were playing the Diva instead of the Winston, right? It offers more peel for potentially a second support, as well as just kind of potential safety for the Pharah when she finally goes for that barrage. But you do lose a lot in the frontline tank battle with a Diva versus a Winston. You know, Winston always feels like he can do quite a bit more and just kind of be in your face. But we'll see if both these teams choose to run out on the same comps now that they've been given an accidental duo.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like teams will, I don't know, possibly in the name of respect, let's say, opt to roll out on the same things. I mean, the composition from ATX PC, right? It's very hard to isolate any particular target. I mean, the Tracer, oh so independent. Far Mercy is on an angle of their own in the sky. Kiriko, obviously, lots of survivability backing up the Diva, so very interested to see who Winton Gang want to execute their dive on.
Yes, indeed, and they're going to be bunkering down in that dojo, kind of looking for their opportunity to come in here. You're seeing the prongs of ATX. They're just kind of reaching around, looking for something. Protein Shake might have to come up big here on the Genji. Going to be a dash, but the TP away on the Kiriko means that we're going to be going right back in. And with the help of the damage boost from those rockets, I mean, just look at the damage coming down from the Pharah. Takes down 3, make it 4. And yeah, that's exactly what happens, right? They just kind of wrapped themselves around and killed everybody.
I mean, this is exactly how ATX's comp is supposed to function, right? Protein Shake and Jifil on the Genji and Monkey had a hard time finding anything to jump, right? Trying to get to the Kiriko, but eventually, you know, she TP'd out and Suzud was eventually caught, but by that time, Alex and the rest of ATX have just cleaned up the rest of Winton Gang.
Yes, indeed. Now they're going to be looking for an in here. The Winston diving in super aggressively. No peel from the supports means this Winston should go down here with a damage-boosted rocket. Now Pharah in the sky looking for a bit more, but things are going to be back and forth. Meanwhile, Protein Shake in the backline does manage to find the Kiriko. Means Mercy's the only healing up here for ATX. And Protein finds a second healer as well before finally going down to a rocket. And I feel like it's going to be a bit of a chaotic back and forth fight here, but it is going to go ATX's favor.
Oh, Sullivan not quite making out of the bubble, blown up by the Diva Bomb from Majin, so despite the heroics from Protein Shake, finding the support line really early, which is what, you know, Winton Gang needs to do in order to deny the value for the Pharah, they're able to turn it around in the end, and now ATX, they've got a barrage and a pulse bomb, really looking for kills.
Yes, indeed, the recall forced out there without delivering the pulse bomb onto anybody. Meanwhile, the barrage does come up, get the Ana, but it's traded for the life. Meanwhile, Chaco does manage to take down Protein Shake, the main offender here. The Mercy is taken down as well. So we're going to be looking at a 3v2 here on point, but ATX again seems to be just edging out this fight. The Monkey can't do anything. Falls over.
I mean, well, Winton Gang have to come up big with this Nano Blade, right? They can't afford to really invest too much outside of that. Obviously, the Overclock and Primal would be nice for the ultimate economy in other fights. ATX can only respond with a Kitsune, although we will be heading into a little pause here. Not quite sure, but, you know, usually it's just a small technical issue we'll be able to resolve shortly. I mean, ATX has been pretty dominant, 91% to 0. Winton Gang had one fight where they were winning, but ATX managed to come back in.
Yes, indeed.
Speaking of coming back, we're back into the game.
Yeah, and that fight was off the back of Protein Shake's heroics, and that's what's going to have to come up big here. As you said, this Nano Blade is going to be online as Protein is the one to touch the trigger over time. The Nano Blade's coming out. Tracer just simply blinks away. It seems like this Nano Blade might not get anything, just simply hounding. Going to take some flashes on the Diva, but not before the Onyx falls off the map. The Overclock being invested comes up with nothing. Majin on the Diva, already taken down 2, and there goes the Brig. Not a lot left for the side of Winton Gang. This Primal Rage is not getting a whole heck of a lot. Just the damage is too much on the side of ATX. They even have a Diva Bomb still to invest. They're just coming out of Valkyrie. It seems as though it's just a matter of time. But to be fair, Winton Gang, they do get the Mercy, but unfortunately that's all they'll get for their troubles. 100 to 0.
I mean, I think that was just unfortunately a critical error, from Protein Shake. You know, you have the Nano Blade, this crucial win condition in this potentially last fight, and you go for what I would argue is the worst possible target. A Tracer who can, as we just saw, just blinks away, has a recall. You know, maybe they were looking to get the one-shot combos and get the dash resets, but unfortunately, the labor that was put in there bore no fruit. So we'll see if anything changes up here on Night Market. Traditionally Brawl favored, but seems like, you know, both teams want to roll out on the same dive, more or less.
Yes, indeed. So it's going to be interesting that both teams just choose the TP out. We're again seeing the Pharmacy take to the skies. Sullivan on the Soldier 76, potentially just to deal more damage. But you're caught out in the open with these rockets. A little bit of displacement, but just kind of some poking back and forth going on right now. No real key targets hit yet as the dive comes in from Giffel. Doesn't seem to get anything, but they're gaining quite a bit of space on the map here. You know, WINTON game, they've gained this whole outside control. Meanwhile, Majin's going to have to contest the point by themselves, but they get Sullivan for their troubles. This Diva's coming up large. The break falls over. The dive is unfortunately just a tad too late for WINTON gang. They're going to be sent back to their spawn room forcibly as ATX gets the first cap.
Yeah, you know, looking at some of the minor compositional changes, obviously Sullivan swapping over to the Soldier, but I think more crucially is Minu on the Ana for ATX. And what that means for WINTON gang is that they have a much easier target that they can isolate and execute their dive onto, because of course Azuya is still preoccupied with Alex in the air. The Diva does offer some bit of peel, but apparently not enough against Sullivan's Helix rocket.
No, indeed, the Mercy might be looking for a res, but this is going to be the advantage.
Oh!
WINTON gang wanted. Chaco just in too deep, goes down. The Mercy being forced to take the bullets from Sullivan. Sullivan's coming up absolutely massive here. It's just going to be the Diva on point, trying to stall this out for extra percentage, using the Diva Bomb even to get more. Will the rematch come through on point? It seems like it will, so it looks like ATX is going to want to stall this one out just a tad. I'll go back again on the Tracer, but yeah, it seems as though for the first time in this map, WINTON gang is going to get some percentage going.
So WINTON gang looking pretty healthy in the ult economy. They're probably going to have to contend with the Nano Pharah, who could do quite some work, especially in addition to the damage boost. But no Ana means no Nano.
Yeah, and Protein is just coming up absolutely massive. And as you highlighted, the Ana is just so much more diveable. WINTON gang finally getting some dives and synchronization together. Meanwhile, Lily Genji almost wants to dash up and go for the Pharah. Protein's like, let me at him, but yeah, no, it seems like it's just going to be a casual kind of poke back and forth once again here. Pharah looking for value as the Soldier's just raining damage in, dropping low before the Mercy gets back on. The barrage is going to come through. Potentially, it's going to be it actually doesn't even have barrage. I'm just crazy. But the pulse bomb onto Sullivan means that this Pharah can now play the game for free. Even with the rally from Brig, it's not going to mean a whole heck of a lot, but no Mercy pocket as Protein Shake is going to come up in that aspect. The deflect to keep Protein Shake alive. And it seems that the WINTON gang is slowly turning the fight in their favor. The Pharah just stuck inside now. Alex doesn't know where to go. It's going to be a slight regroup here, I think, as WINTON gang is going to continue occurring percentage. Oh, but
I mean, that was a really nice bubble. From Jiffil, denied the initial value of the nano boost, but now not quite there to shut down the barrage. So ATX finally able to make something happen and flip the point back. I do think WINTON gang, though, might have misplayed their ultimates a little bit. I would have liked to see the Blade Kitsune rush, a combo that, you know, can't be denied as much by the defense matrix of the Diva compared to an enormous nade instantly cleansed, but compared to the tactical visor that Sullivan used that fight.
Yes, indeed, but there's going to be what shoulda, woulda, coulda as the Blade comes out, hunting the Ana. Will Protein find them? Yes, the first flash comes through. The second means that Ana will be down. They're now just guarding the body, make sure no res comes through. Meanwhile, Sullivan taking care of the counter. Alex goes down, but is resurrected. Meanwhile, Majin has to pay for it with their lives. It's going to mean WINTON gang coming back onto the point here as it's just the Pharmacy alive. And they're a powerful duo, but they can't stand up to the wrath of the WINTON.
Yeah, I mean, last fight territory should be for both of these teams. Question comes down to this Nano once again. Last one was denied by Jiffil. Alex not quite able to connect those shots. WINTON gang, though, Jiffil dies, and Chaco's on point.
Yes, indeed. It's forcing a two-pronged fight, and meanwhile, ATX will just take that because a nano onto the Pharah means that there's just damage. Sullivan was the first to fall. Meanwhile, both supports are now done, and it seems as though ATX, they just won the map out of nowhere.
I mean, feels like a bit of an unforced error from Jiffil as we see goodbye to them again. A nice nade from Nenu to anti the Winston and secure that kill. And then, you know, with your tank on, you force pressure on point. The entire team is so split that the nano damage boosted Pharah is just easy cleanup.
Yeah, definitely. I feel as though if you're going to commit to dives like that, especially with the monkey, then there has to be some sort of fruit for your labor. That Ana has to be the one to fall. Your Genji needs to be in sync with you, and I don't know. I wasn't seeing that exact thing kind of go on there. So now that's going to put ATX with 1 point on the board here. Winton gang gotta come up with an answer because it seems as though this pharmacy is just a little bit too much for them to handle.
Yeah, I mean, you know, with only Sullivan really able to deal with the Pharah Mercy, that's a 2v1, right? It's not an easy task to ask. So you either need to see that coordination that you mentioned between Protein Shake, who's doing so much work, and Jiffil as well, who's you know, got some decent bubbles, but you know, when you're playing them as two individuals, the Pharah is just going to shut everything else down. They need to either put more resources into dealing with the Pharah or execute their dives more synergistically. You know, potentially the answer might come in terms of a map pick. Our next map type will be hybrid, given the options of Blizz World, Hollywood, Numbani, and of course everybody's favorite Kings Row for Winton Gang.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that is kind of a wide array of options. You know, sometimes you'll get map pools where everything sort of feels the same, but you do have quite interesting options to kind of go with there. You know, as you said, Kings Row, everybody kind of knows that tried and true. But if you're worried about the Pharah specifically, I almost wonder if you might want to opt into like a Hollywood potentially, where there's a lot of high ground you can play from, not a lot of places in the air that she can really hide too well. But it does seem as though my prediction is correct here, and Mac Daddy is going to lock in the Hollywood pick. And yeah, I mean, we could just talk more about those high grounds and how potent they can be.
I mean, I 100% agree with you, and obviously so does Winton Gang as well. Hollywood, the Pharah, I think, is definitely fairly strong when you play around those roofs of the first point. But once you head to second point, I mean, just everybody is sat up on the high grounds, and the pathing for the Pharah is not easy at all. You know, it's really something more suited towards an Echo where you can just kind of sneak around and then suddenly pop onto them, as opposed to some of the more long-range spam that a Pharah does. So it's going to be very difficult, I think, for ATX to run the Pharah on Hollywood here if they choose so. I mean, third point as well. Some of the sightlines not too favorable. Winton Gang, you know, they're definitely cooking. We'll see if they opt for their namesake Winton here, starting out on the attack. Meanwhile, ATX, curious to see what they want to roll out on for their defense.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel as though, sure, you may want to stick to the Winston just because maybe that's what you practice, even though you have your name after it. I get it. But I don't know. There's definitely a lot of options you can do in terms of what tanks can do what on different points of this map, right? Especially when you think into the second point, if you're having to deal with a lot of spam damage, you know, somebody like a Sigma who can move the shield around very dynamically, who can kind of just be everywhere and just be a problem at all points could be helpful. But yeah, it does seem like they're going to stick to this Winston. Meanwhile, on the defense, still rocking the Diva.
Yeah, I mean, Alex recognizes the difficulty in playing Pharah, will show us the Tracer. Meanwhile, Winton Gang, Sullivan is out here on the Cassidy. Not a pick we see too much at the highest level currently, just due to the lack of mobility and range. Obviously, Magnetic Grenade, a very strong ability, was potentially anticipating a Pharah, but without that, we'll see how Winton Gang want to try and take control of this high ground.
Yes, indeed. That first dive comes through, and the Winston nearly falls over for it. Finally, some healing's going to come through, though. And then, yeah, it's just going to be this slow back and forth on the choke until Winton King decides that they want to dive that high ground and try to remove that Ash. Meanwhile, Chaco really just taking kind of pop shots, throwing those dynamites in already halfway towards the bomb. Could be kind of lethal, but his dive eventually coming through. The boot fails, but Protein Shake is in. The brig is low. It doesn't seem like it's going to net anything. The brig is popped up, and yeah, we're just back to the poke war.
I mean, they have cleared the high ground off, although with Sullivan falling, that might be back to the spawn for ATX. Seems like they still want to try and contest and control this space. As I say, that good old Caster Curse Jiffil has fallen back and running a little low. They have nano boosts on both sides. A question of who wants to use it first. I mean, Blade not available, neither is the Pulse Bomb. And we see a nano boost onto Jiffil and Majin, who slept.
Yes, indeed. And so now it's just both tanks trying to wreak havoc in the backline. Meanwhile, the Cassidy's going to fall to the nano boost to Diva. Majin on this Diva has been proving why this hero might be working nowadays. Meanwhile, Jiffil is going to come back. And yeah, it's just going to be another sort of soft reset for Winton Gang. They don't want to get staggered out here. But just ATX is exuding so much pressure, and they're spending so little for it.
Yeah, I mean, Sullivan is swapped over to the Soldier and better longer range to deal with this high ground, as well as the Ana playing all the way back at the top of the elevator. Chaco extremely low, but still has a Bob to potentially throw out. Winton Gang engaging with the Rally Blade.
Yes, indeed, but the Blade is shut down. Nanud is the one who takes care of that officially in the kill feed. The Diva Bomb is going to create so much space on the point. It's going to mean that Jiffil doesn't get any healing, that Winston doesn't even have a Primal Rage online yet. And Winton Gang, they're going to have invested 3 ultimates all for naught.
I mean, it feels like Winton Gang are trying to break into Fort Knox. They have not, I don't know if they've even touched the point yet. I'm really looking for Mac Daddy to try and find not only good value with this upcoming nano here, which, you know, Jiffil can jump in, Protein Shake needs to be there for the dive, but also a nade. Instead, it's going to be Nenu with a massive nade, and that's just going to stop Winton Gang from pushing in for now. The nano has to be forced to keep Jiffil alive.
Yes, indeed, but the Nanu on the other side on the Majin means that this Diva is going to be supercharged once again. Winston finally going to get the Primal Rage bursted, but unfortunately, down to half health and slept means that there will be no value coming from this. The 1000 HP will not save you now, and now we're going to be in another cleanup fight here. As you said, Fort Knox, this defense is impenetrable.
I mean, I think that was really just a silent carry from Nenu there. Not only did they hit 2 enormous nades there, but also that sleep onto Jiffil just completely shut down any chance Winton Gang of pushing here. Now they've swapped over to the Ramatra. It's last fight here, and they have no ultimates other than this overclock to work with. Sullivan has to come up big.
Yes, indeed, and Sullivan does indeed by taking out the brig before anybody even realizes that the overclock's not even popped yet. Nobody dies to the Diva Bomb except for the rematch. Mac Daddy goes down. You hate to see that. We're now in a 4v4 here. Each team mission support. And Majin takes down Sullivan. The hero couldn't even pop the overclock as we're about to enter the last 5 seconds here. The rally. Will anybody from the side of Winton Gang be able to touch? There will be a force on the point, but it's going to cost the brig her life as Ramatra is now just punching away. Gives his life in the end, and it's just all over. It's ATX in the kill feed, and they just hold first point Hollywood.
I mean, that was just an incredibly dominant showing from ATX there. You know, you get the map pick of Hollywood from Winton Gang, and ATX are like, all right, no Pharah. I see how it is. No Pharah required whatsoever. A full hold where Winton Gang, again, it really only felt like they had one fight where they could have potentially won, but with that sleep dart from Nenu, all hopes and dreams there were shut down. So now they're playing for a draw, at best. ATX have 4 minutes to pick up a single tick. This is very rough if you're looking to root for Winton Gang here.
Most definitely. I mean, you know, one thing that has to be said is I personally, you know, in terms of just any level of play, I've doubted Diva as of late, right? I have been one of the people who's like, oh, Diva's not really good. She can't do a whole heck of a lot. You can pick a lot better tanks. Majin is proving a lot of Diva doubters wrong right now. It's almost like they are everywhere. at the right time, right? It's like, oh, I need to peel for my supports. Boom, I'm there. Oh, I need to go kill the DPS before they do something. Boom, I'm there. And when a diva's flying around doing all of that, there's no shutdown, no punish. What do you do? Like, there's just really, it's a 650 HP sort of mech warlord that's just kind of running through your team.
Yeah, I mean, here in the Hollywood Hills, the hill that Winton Gang is fighting is certainly a very uphill one against that Majin Diva, who's just perfectly able to punish enemy team as well as peel for their own. We're already going to see a stage from Alex into Cafe. This is not good.
Yeah, it's another prong attack. They're going to surround them and enclose them slowly. Meanwhile, the Tracers already worked their way into the backline. This Brig is 1 HP. Going to fall down. Already, that's the first casualty, but they traded for Majin. Potentially could be a fight win here, but Sullivan is going to go down here. It's going to leave only 3 defenders alive for the side of Winton Game. Mac Daddy going to have their first big nade of the match. It's going to be what you love to see. This Brigida should eventually go down to the Ramatra here, and despite being a back and forth, Winton Gang, they finally get a hold.
Looks like ATX, I don't know, they're I mean, they've got the faster spawn, so they're looking for this recontest. High ground uncontested here.
Oh, and the Diva's in the backline, they don't see him! Backdadding's low, but the upside being that the side of ATX, both their DPS have fallen down. Now the Diva's going to get DMAX here, so you trade your Ana for another defensive hold here. And the fights are definitely not clean for the side of Winton Gang, but they're winning them, right? They're starting to get a defensive hold going. But Alex with the pulse bomb would be big.
Sullivan on this Hanzo has found quite a few quiet picks that have really helped Winton Gang turn these very messy back and forth fights into wins here. So they're coming up on the Nanoblade here. There's no rally for the side of Izuya. They need to be able to execute if they want to hold, which is looking very possible at this point.
Yes, indeed. And so we'll have to see if this hold continues. Meanwhile, Alex is going to be looking for the pulse bomb. It does not stick onto the brink, but gets the kill anyway. The Hanzo now is going to be the next target hunted. The Majin dive was there. And it's going to be 3-member spell. It's just the Ramatra and the Genji left alive. No nano for this blade. It's going to have to be protein coming up massively. And it doesn't seem as though that's what's going to be the case. You're already too low. You have no help. ATX takes Hollywood and moves up 2-0 in this series.
Unfortunately, I think they needed to come up with the Nanoblade much earlier. So because they weren't able to pull it out quite fast enough, I mean, you really got to give props to Alex for some really nice setup. The pathing just on point, not getting forced out at all, and just able to make it into the cafe, into the backline of Winton Gang, securing them the Hollywood map and match point.
And, I mean, you're just put on such a back foot there for the side of Winton Gang, right? They're definitely going to have to piece something together here, but they're going to have to do it after just a short little break here, as we are going to be giving these teams just a bit of a reprieve to maybe reset the mental and rethink their strategies as we're going to be heading into Flashpoint. So make sure you stick around. We'll be back after this. welcome on back here to the Console Gaming League. We have a lovely playoff match. We're just in the midst of, I would say, maybe a little bit less lovely, seeing as ATX has had a dominant run of it so far with a 2-0 scoreline heading into this next map here. I mean, Boom, what do they got to change? What's happening so far?
They gotta change something, that's for sure. I mean, looking at our maps here, right? We saw a few signs of life on, Lijiang, especially on Night Market there. That was, 99 to 100, but Gardens was 100-0 shutout as far as I remember. Hollywood, even worse. A full hold, one tick only required for ATX. So, with New Junk City, our Flashpoint map, right? It's obviously an extremely fast-paced game mode. Flashpoint, it's straight in the name, right? It's fast, it's flashy. Teams often like running, consequentially, very high-tempo compositions. You see a lot of Junker Queen. Sometimes the fastest of which with the Kiriko. Sometimes a little slower with the Baptiste, the Bastion, those kind of things. If Winton Gang want to stick true to their name, we need to see some adaptability into their playstyle, right? We need to see better setups for these dives, whether that be an anti-nade from the Ana, whether that be the Genji clearing things off and allowing the rest of the team to push in at the same time. No matter what it is, though, Winton Gang have to make something here happen because it is match point on New Junk City.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe by picking New Junk City in and of itself, that sort of elaborates that they do want to change it up, right? Not really a Winston or even a Diva map, really. This is where you can see a lot of teams run like Reinhardt compositions, potentially other sorts of brawl like Orisa and Zarya. So I'm hoping that these guys can show us a new look, but at the same time, ATX, I mean, they've been adaptable so far, right? So I feel like Winton Gang, they definitely have to not only show a new look, but they have to up the level.
Winton Gang, unless they're doing a bit of trolling us, and Spawn might give you that aforementioned brawl look here. Kind of a Ryan Ana brawl, backed up by the Mei and Genji. Kind of 50-50 in terms of composition. ATX, meanwhile, Zarya with a Kiriko. Now, the Zarya has been nerfed since her initial bubble changes. Seems like we will be heading into a pause for some should be a very brief technical issues. But yeah, I mean, the Zarya, she had the bubble buffs to her projected ally bubble, and they've been brought back. So the only thing that's really different is the cooldown. You can cycle it a lot faster, probably still onto Chaco for that, Genji finding that easy in, but definitely not as strong, and going to lack a lot of the sustain that you would traditionally see when you're running that Kiriko. It's really going to be on ATX to find a very quick in and lots of value between the Zarya, the Genji, and the Kiriko. Otherwise, Winton Gang, they should be able to out-sustain with their brawl.
Yeah, and I mean, that's sort of maybe the idea that they're going for, is that they think they can get a quick pick, whether it's onto a support, or maybe they're kind of expecting Winton Gang to not run out on this sort of composition, or maybe they're expecting it, right? I mean, so far, Protein, I think, has exclusively played the Genji so far, regardless of the rest of the team. So maybe you're just kind of expecting the Genji to play a little bit of aggro, go for the backline, and you're just going to punish it that way, and that'll be your quick pick into the fight. But it seems as though the main issue we had was Winton Gang's tank is unable to use left click. Might be slightly important on Reinhardt, but we shall see.
Seems like our mouse issues have been solved nice and quickly, so heading back into this, ATX, Alex just keeping out on the Symmetra will opt for the Soldier as well. So again, looking to get a lot of pick value, right? Winton Gang, on the other hand, trying to sustain, allow that Reinhardt to just get in the face of everyone and start beating them up with his big ol' hammer.
Indeed. Yeah, there is a slight issue. I just noticed this Ryan only has 450 HP, so I think we might be on some quick play settings. here for Flashpoint. So just a quick little casual reset occurring. Listen, if production's not scuffed, is it really a production? I mean, like, come on.
I mean, I could argue that this is, slightly a small indie company issue because for some reason it seems like the expected tank HP roll Q bonus does not apply solely on Flashpoint. Oftentimes you have to just force enable it instead of using what should be the expected setting, which is enable the bonus health if you're on 122. As somebody who's been running quite a few scrims, I can tell you this does get people into trouble. So it happens, unfortunately. We should be heading back and restarting. I mean, not too much has happened here on New Junk City, and of course we'll always be starting on our first point, the very same. Teams should be heading back in now, so again, what do you make of the compositions, Mega? I mean, we've seen the differences between them. Do you think Winton Gang will be able to execute? Or ATX are just going to show their prowess once again?
So I think Winton Gang has the correct composition, but the correct composition doesn't matter if it's not done properly, right? What you need to do is you need to be the aggressor, right? You have a speed boost for your Reinhardt, whereas the other team, sure, they can move Zarya around, but it's definitely not the same level of impact. So I want to see Mac Daddy just amping the Rhine in with the Mei, walling somebody off, getting a quick pick, and then just continuing to go and roll. And that's kind of the advantage, right? Zarya has to build up energy, and then she has to kind of poke with it with the beam or the right click. Rhine can just do damage in the front line, but it seems as though you could argue it's a slightly dishonorable play here to switch over to the Ramatra instead of the Rhine, but I think it's just a worse pick overall. I think the Rhine would have been better.
Yeah, I think the Rhine is much better against the Zarya because you have that shield to actually absorb the Zarya, and once you can get in her face, once you pressure out the Zarya, right, she either gives a bubble to her Genji or uses one of her own. She's pretty squishy as far as tanks go. Really looking to Sullivan to hit a good wall to isolate her out.
Yes, indeed. This is going to be the fight here. The slow use, but all of this entire side of Winton Gang is super, super low. They're going to have to be just sustained by their Ana here as the nade comes through just to keep everybody sustained. But it's just going to be super close with these right clicks. Finally, Chaco finds a low HP target. The Ana goes down, followed up by the Lucio. No support alive. Ajin will give their life for it, but it doesn't seem to mean a whole heck of a lot. As, yeah, that's just going to be a quick cleanup and the first capture going over to the side of ATX.
I mean, you see the issue with the Ramatra here. You could argue it's a kind of karma of sorts because ever since the changes to how damage reduction works and it no longer stacking as much as it used to, right? Even though Jiffil was blocking and had armor, they just got beamed down by the Zarya. Again, it's unlike the Reinhardt where you have 1200 HP shield to absorb all that damage. So Winton Gang are gonna have a difficult time trying to force their way back in.
Yes, indeed. And I mean, it's not even the matter of forcing your way in, right? Like ATX, they will gladly be the ones that come to you. But Protein managed to come up huge with a headshot onto Alex here. That means that that's going to be the go button for the side of Winton Gang here. But the Ramatra is just being door checked by the Zarya here. Not able to go anywhere. Majin just kind of has the opposite locked in until that nano boost comes on through. And it's going to be the second pick followed up by the Lucio on Lucio Violence. And Winton Gang, albeit off the back of a pretty solid pick from Protein, is going to get the cap here. And now ATX is going to be able to walk in with their ult.
I mean, yeah, a very nice pick from Protein, who's been putting in a lot of work for Winton Gang throughout this match. The nano boost, of course, committed by Whaley as well, but ATX, they've got 5 ultimates. As long as they don't burn all of them, probably just pop, a Kitsune blade to chunk through the beat from Mac Daddy, they should be all good.
Yes, indeed. The Dragon tries to cut off the Kitsune rush, but it's not before Majin finally finds the other on the other side. And I feel like just these fights are going so fast. It's just the collapse from ATX. They're just doing so much. The Cassidy rolling around does manage to find the Lucio, but unfortunately that's all that's going to come up here. And now Winton Gang, I wonder if they'll be able to get anyone to the center point. It does not look like it unless
there's no way. I don't think there's any way. That's just going to be the first flashpoint going to ATX. And off the back of only a Kitsune, no blade whatsoever required. I think Winton Gang didn't really respect the distancing that their composition needs, right? Perhaps not quite alt tracking the Kitsune, and just seemed very caught off guard by it. Now, of course, heading into our next flashpoint here, they will have ultimates of their own to work with. The Annihilation from Jiffy here could come up big.
Yes, indeed, but it won't do a whole heck of a lot of its graviton and then blade it out, so we'll have to see how it goes. There's going to be another fight just going back and forth on this point. The blade getting pulled first here. The Annihilation is going to be in response with the beat as well, so both beats are now out. The Annihilation does not seem to be gaining a whole heck of a lot now. Everybody is grabbed together. Majin's going to get the first pick onto Sullivan, and now we're just seeing the Sojourn go to the outside, trying to look for a railgun. Will find the kill on the Protein. Mac Daddy just heads to the void, realizing that there's got to be a reset here. And ATX, again, they didn't even have to invest all their ults, and they won that fight.
I mean, it was a little on the expensive side, you know, to start with. It was very well played from Jacko. Pulling that blade just baited out both the beat and the Annihilation from Winton Gang. Jacko played that well. You know, it was like, all right, I got my job done. I got the ultimates out. I don't need to go for any kills.
Yes, indeed. And now ATX is going to have a good defensive hold here, potentially. And it's good. If it start like that, Nanu is going to kill Protein Shake. The damage potential is gone. Winton Gang is going to be sent reeling once again. The Kitsune Rush just for added effect here. I mean, that's just sending a message more than anything. It was a wasteful rush, but you just kind of wanted to be like, hey, look, we're us.
I mean, ATX, their ult economy a little reset now after 2 expensive fights, and with their only ultimate once again picked off by Protein Shake. Winton Gang, if they can get a nice touch here, they'll be able to recontest with a 5v4.
But the question is that touch, and it's going to come down to the Lucio who's going to get there in time. Mac Daddy now being headhunted in the middle of the enemy line, but Zarya potentially could go down here, just sort of the Ramatra being a menace, standing in everybody's way. But it doesn't seem as though this fight has netted anything for either side yet. Then a boost onto the Cassidy. Will Sullivan be able to come up big? Not before the Ana falls on the other side here. And slowly but surely ATX, they weathered the storm. They have the overclock now as well. Just for the cherry on top of this cake, it's going to be the second point going their way. And I mean, ATX, they seem to kind of have Winton Gang downloaded.
Yeah, they have entered the Matrix. They now know Kung Fu, despite the nano boost onto Sullivan, who is now swapped away from the Cassidy onto the Ashe here. ATX VC were still able to win that out. So, again, pretty sure 2 clean 100 O's here. And heading into our third and potentially final flashpoint, they've got a Grav Blade to work with and support ults.
And they already have positioning on the point. It's just, for Winton Gang, it's feeling just a little bit helpless. You need Protein to be the hero with this Dragon Strike potentially, but it doesn't seem as though that's going to be the case. The Blade's going to come out. But
what a sleep!
Massive, but it's not going to keep Sullivan alive here. They're going to kill the Genji, so it's a 4v4 here on the point as ATX. They're going to have to keep somebody on point just to make sure the cap comes through. But now 4v4, it seems as though Winton Gang, they're going to get a little bit hesitant. They don't want to aggro into this too crazily as the Kitsune Rush is now coming off for the side of Nenu. And yeah, even though the 4v4 could have gone either way, that Kitsune Rush is going to steal the deal. ATX is going to get control of this point here as both teams get back to 5v5. But Protein taken down by a rail. Now a nano boost is online here for Whaley, but it doesn't matter because Whaley's going to go down to the Genji, and there's going to be this push-up here from ATX. Oh my goodness, Winton Gang sent reeling once more.
I mean, that was a good kite from Winton Gang against that Kitsune Rush. The shield from Jiffil there, able to keep everybody nice and healthy, but unfortunately, Alex said it's my turn to find the opening pick, and as we head into potentially last fight territory here, Winton Gang have to do something with the Nano Annihilation. They have to kill through and kill fast through the beat of Izuya. But there's going to be a grab from Majin!
And the grab, the damage is there! With the overclock, the Protein goes down. Another one, Sullivan taken to the cleaners. The Annihilation pop just to give some extra health. But nobody's going to be able to touch the point. And just like that, in a dominant fashion, ATX, they just took that match as theirs.
I mean, that was a very nice heads-up play from Majin on ATX. You know, knowing its last fight, having a cheeky little hiding spot there on the Zarya with the Graviton, just catching Winton Gang off guard, denying them from using their own ultimates first, and ultimately securing the map and the match for ATX.
I mean, yeah, that's just absolutely crazy, as that's going to be a 3-0 that propels ATX forward in the upper bracket here. Winton Gang is going to be sent lower. I mean, all those zeros kind of tell the story of this match, right? I feel like Winton Gang, they never got a foothold, right? They never were able to kind of figure out what they wanted to do, but ATX, they proved some flexibility, right? It wasn't just sort of going on just the far or anything like that. They were able to push through and play a variety of different comps all to a high level. So ATX definitely showing what they're made of and what they got.
I mean, ATX definitely quite a threat in this bracket. I mean, if I remember correctly from the opponent picking, I think FDD was saying, they're booking some like low contenders scrims. Like they are no slouches whatsoever. So heading into our next matches for today, obviously in round one, we won't quite see ATX, but for the teams that are competing, they've got quite a dilemma on their hands. Later today, I think we'll have a match at, I believe, 6:30 EST. Should be Yellow Yetis versus Sublime. And then shortly after that, at 8, there's going to be a barrage, a deluge of matches. You got Archeon versus Guardia Astral at 8, Aimless Esports versus Primal at the Disco at 8, and then just 30 minutes after that at 8:30, Danger Close 2 versus Borealis. So if you want to see some console, some PC, some Master, some GM, make sure you tune in this evening, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you're located.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be some phenomenal matches here, so do make sure that you tune in, because, I mean, if there's teams that are that good as ATX just was that are still in this tournament, I mean, it's always going to be fun to watch. But yeah, that'll be us signing out for now. Make sure to come back later to watch all of the goodness here on the Console Gaming League.